Hey guys, Stealth here. Normally it's Tactical Tuesday, but actually I'm getting a bit bored with the Tactical Tuesday, so I decided to change it up, and that's why today we're looking at a 1v1 ranked game. This is EOD Team 1 versus Haymaker. The match is of course Paddyfield 1v1, and it's going to be an interesting match because one of them is using a new Israel deck, and the other one is using a blue 4 mechanized deck. I have been on the receiving end of a blue 4 mechanized deck and it wasn't pretty. These guys have some really good firepower, especially amplified with the Merkavas. Those guys can do a lot of damage. Now, we have our eye on a Haymaker currently. I'm going to keep it in neutral viewer so we can see more or less where the weaker spots on their flanks are. You can see the first thing he does is deploy AA around his CV. He's going with the tracked rapiers. It's a bit of an expensive investment as far as I'm concerned. I think that these things are... God, it's been forever since I used them. 45 points? Something like that. They do carry a decent amount of missiles, and the missiles do a nice amount of damage, so that if an enemy does decide to use a helicopter rush, they're going to get deterred pretty damn quickly. Over towards the left, he is spawning in quite a few multinational units. We have an M163CS, a Hafiz over on the left to dominate the entire open area with the long-range ATGM. There's a CEV, a couple of infantry units in VTTs, and a Hachin and a Shiki recon vehicle. Let's see what our AOD team is starting out with. He has the Mahbet, the Achsarit, another Mahbet, a Zelda, a couple of Nachmatchons, which seem to be carrying the grenade launcher infantry. Over to the right, he has one of those MAR 240s. Now, I know that these are in-game, but I personally have never used them, so I'm interested in seeing how exactly this is going to work out. A Safyan, as well as a Tsefa E. I'm interested to see that these guys are not actually spawned over tree lines, they're spawned on the ground. The Yasur Nimrod carrying very elite infantry. So I'm assuming that that's the Shayatet 13. He also starts with a Barak 2 air superiority fighter, and currently is not challenged by any of the ASFs from red. I'm going to call for red and blue team because they are both blue 4. Quite the powerful push coming on the right flank. We got a Flak Panzer Gepard A1, Roland 3, Merkava 2A, that's the grenade launcher unit. A couple of transports, the Achsarit. Very good, these Achsarits, at suppressing infantry. A couple of machine guns, but especially hard to kill. Infantry that's armed with the M72 Law is going to require quite a few rounds to actually kill this thing. So with all the machine guns, it can do a lot of suppression damage and morale damage before the enemy actually manages to kill this thing off. And they are, of course, moderately priced, 15. I mean, the FE 432 is at 5 points way cheaper. But I think that for 3 times the price tag, the Achsarit is still maybe a bit too good in that regard. A couple of M113s, German model this time around, so we got some German infantry coming through, which is already taking fire from the Tsefa E. It looks like the blue team has decided to not invest too heavily into this area. And with the Tsefa A, they're trying to suppress the infantry coming into this area. More so with the MAR 240 providing fire support on this area. What they don't really have is anything on the left. Gulf is pretty much completely open, save for 2 AA units. And I'm not sure if red was able to kill off recon, but without reconnaissance, all of these AA units are very easy pickings for the units that are coming in from red. We got a couple of Gavnunis, which is the Dragon team. Interesting to see these around. I thought they were going to be using the grenade launcher teams. These have a better range than the grenade launcher. The reload time is far worse though, and I don't find them that good at suppressing infantry. They do, however, deliver 2 HE damage per shot at a quite nice range of 1575. Unfortunately, they, as much as anything else, needs reconnaissance. And they can no longer see the Panzer Grenadiers, but they can indeed see the Gepard, which just took 2 hits and still survived. All the Gavnunis are still alive, except for a couple of one of those squads, and there's another MAR 240 strike. He's really keeping this area ablaze to make sure that Red Fort does not have the capacity to call in any more units. Anything that does come in is going to immediately get smoked. In the meanwhile, Haymaker is doing a push on the right flank. He has the Merkavas as well as the Achsarids, and they seem to be trying to make their way up this little ridge here. And by doing so, they're coming in on the flank. They do have one problem. They have no AA with them. So in case that they do make it up here, 1 or 2 helicopters can really ruin their day. Panzer Grenadiers had to be evacuated from their structure, which is almost completely ablaze. They are a little bit wounded, but I've seen worse. And over on the left, the Gavnunis are currently holding position. Same for the transports that they got, the Nachmatschon, which, in case you're not exactly familiar with it, is that I believe it's the Centurion chassis with pretty much a battle bunker built on top of it. That's the way I look at it anyway. We have an engagement on the left flank. This is the area where Blue does not have a lot, and they are starting to regret their choices. But unfortunately, Red does not have, or no longer has, any AA here. Leading to the Lahatut Maypats to be able to just kill off vehicles pretty much at ease. And surprisingly, this reconnaissance vehicle cannot see the Mahbet, meaning that the Hafiz cannot take it out yet. Hafiz has fired 1 round, but otherwise they are not actually engaging anything because, and once again, they cannot see them, which I think they actually should be able to at this range, but again, it's only a good optics, it's not very good. Blue is pushing up with the Gavnunis. The Panzer Grenadiers have retaken control of their structure. They managed to take out 1 of the squads, but these Gavnunis are pushing through to such an extent that they might start knocking on the CV soon. A couple of Merkava 2s are being brought in. These Merkava 2s can take a lot of these missiles before they go down. Dragon only does 10 points of armor penetration, which is nowhere near enough to go through 18 points of frontal armor, so they can fire pretty much their entire ammo load, if they hit, that is, which is not too likely, and do quite a low amount of damage to that tank. But look at the tanks go. Grenade launchers, main gun, Brownings. These Gavnunis barely have a chance, but they seemingly are too stealthy for the Merkavas to see at the moment. I think that Haymaker is currently otherwise engaged with his focus, because he's not actually micromanaging these Merkava 2s. He's probably busy micromanaging these guys. But the Merkava 2s have been able to sneak up along the flank, and the Achsarids are wisely keeping their infantry inside, because if they were inside the structure, then that would be a whole different story. There would not be any infantry left. Rova 890 moving up along the tree line, once again trying to take cover there, because probably their structure, which was, I think that one, has been set completely on fire. Now let's see about these Gavnunis. Rova 8 are engaging. Gavnunis are almost out of ammo. There's another hit. There's 2 more infantry units down. Or 2 more infantrymen, I should say, not the infantry unit. Panzer Grenadiers coming in, basically punishing the Gavnunis for pushing out this far. Time for Haymaker to bring in a tank. He's calling in an M1A1, which I believe is one of the heaviest tanks that you can get in a mechanized deck. They've been able to clear this tree line, but there's a quad stack of Nachmatschons coming in. I'm not exactly sure if these things are still carrying infantry, but I don't believe so. Nonetheless, they still have 8 frontal armor, which for the Rovait is going to take at least a few rounds of their law to do enough damage to it. And where are the Merkavas? The Merkavas are making their way towards the middle of the field. They still have 24 rounds between them. They have a decent amount of hit points, although once again, if that helicopter comes back, you're still in a lot of trouble. And over towards the right, there's 2 Merkava 2As that were pushing up along this tree line, probably got spotted by the Safyan, and then I think got taken out by the Nimrod. There is still the issue of the Achsarids, as well as the Rovait. They still have control of pretty much this town. as well as the Fusiliers who have been able to make it towards the town. And so far, it seems that both parties are struggling a bit with map control. Although red, I'd say, is pushing heavily on blue at the moment. Looks like we're about to see Merkava 2A on Merkava 2A engagement over here. Unfortunately, these guys have their turret aimed in the wrong direction. There we go. Can they get a side shot? Yes, I think they managed to get a side shot in. Firing everything they got. Grenade launchers, machine guns even at the infantry. Still 2 on 2 here. But there we go, that's one Merkava down. 98% chance to hit versus 89, and there we go, there's the last Merkava down. The Merkava against the M1A1 is going to be a different story, and especially if the Hafiz is able to help out, it's going to be quite the painful engagement for the Merkavas, provided that this thing can actually hit. Which it didn't, and in fact it got taken out by the Merkavas. Hafiz are a very nice unit, if you can keep them safe. The M1A1 is about to arrive. It's taking fire from a quad of Gav Nunis, but with their terrible accuracy, they have a really hard time hitting this tank. All the missiles so far seem to have missed. The tank is now heavily taking fire from the Merkavas as well. This thing has 17 frontal armor with a 19 AP gun, versus 18 frontal armor with a 15 AP gun. So the Merkava 2A at maximum range will not be able to actually damage the M1A1, but a side shot from the Gav Nunis will. And then of course the Merkava 2A was not at maximum range, it was quite a bit closer. Panzer Grenadiers moving up, backed up soon by the Messiahat 9, sorry, by the Messiahat. These guys with the grenade launchers can quite nicely suppress these Gav Nunis. Hopefully enough so that the Panzer Grenadiers get to live. Gav Nunis 10 points each, so it's quite the investment from EOD team here. He's still pushing on them. Nachmachon, surprisingly not actually engaging but moving back. Are they trying to regain the infantry? Or they're just parking right alongside. Yeah, they're parking right alongside. They're not actually trying to engage. There's the last of the Gav Nunis. And they're pretty much gone. Once again, the Mar 240s are popping in. Where's that 24D? No, I'm going to say 240. Popping in, deploying a lot of napalm. Not very accurate though. Their accuracy is a dispersion of 4.5 clicks. Now with the two of them they can pretty much saturate that 4.5 clicks, but still, anything that is going to be here is in trouble, but other than that, I don't really see that much of a problem with it. Haymaker's pushing forward a CV, attempting to capture Bravo exactly when a Lahatut comes back in. Backed up with a Safyan, so I wouldn't be surprised if you can see him. There we go, missile coming in. Missed him narrowly. Safyan pushing forward. Infantry pushing forward, trying to kill off the reconnaissance helo. Because without that, they no longer have any tracking info, but just a little bit too late, and the CV gets killed off. However, Haymaker already has a CV in Hotel, and has already been dripping points for quite a bit. He's at 49 versus the 4 points for EOD team. Blue is pushing forward an Achsarit Pikut, which is quite heavily armored for a CV. 10 frontal armor, 6 side, 5 back and 2 top. And for 130 points, I think that's more than reasonable. That is definitely very heavily armored, meaning it's very difficult to take it out with artillery. A cluster bomb is more likely to get a good result there. Looks like there's a bit of a lull in the fighting at the moment. These are the two that would able to take out the command vehicle, so that's one down. That's the most threatening unit out of commission. Hornet's circling back around, coming back for another pass. Unfortunately did not quite get the lead to fire off its AIM-9M. Come on buddy, make a turn. Go for the Safyan. It's on track again. Doing all sorts of acrobatics in the meanwhile. And here we go. Hit and kill. And that is the tasking for the Hornet done. Lots of Bedouins are coming in currently. Interesting to see these units in an effective combat role. I haven't ever seen them being used as such yet. But with 4 sniper rifles between those 4 squads, I think that they have the advantage against the Rovate at this stage. The Rovate are not actually firing very accurately, 23% on the machine gun, whereas these guys are extremely accurate, 99, 95%, and continuing to fire and put pressure on both of these infantry squads. Although currently they're going for the Fusiliers, which do have some damage reduction from the structure that they're in, but not enough for the Bedouins to completely, or for the Fusiliers to completely be safe here. And there's 1 squad down. I don't think that using Bedouins in this capacity is that effective, but if you have them a bit further away, or in a supporting role, I think that would be more useful. In the meanwhile, Haymaker is no longer gaining points, as EOD team has been able to put a command vehicle in here. Now the Messiahs might be able to find it. The problem is, will they be able to kill it? Because this thing just delivers a little bit of HE power, just 1 point. And against all of that armor, it's going to take them a lot more in the sense of ammo than they're currently carrying. But so long as they can find it, that would help. Bedouins taking grenade launcher fire. There we go, there's 1 squad down, leaving just 1 squad left. But overheats are now engaging the transports, which are really not a priority. There we go, there's the Bedouins down. We got a Magach coming in. I really like the look of these tanks, I gotta say. They have that really, really sloped turret armor. And aside from that, they have a really nice overall stat for 100 points. 17 points of frontal armor, 17 points of arm penetration, really bloody accurate at 65%, and with a rate of fire of 10 rounds a minute, these things can keep dishing out that damage. In tank-on-tank warfare, I don't find it terribly effective, but in a supporting role, it really helps. It can quickly take care of any transport. Merkava 2B also coming in. Looks like they're about to roll up these transports here. So it's time for the HGMs to quickly get a line of sight on them and hit them before these guys get too close. There we go, 1 missile going in. That's the Merkava 2 down. I hope that these guys can get a shot off before the Magach comes back at them. It's 1 hit, there's 2 hits. Weapons jammed. Now the Milans can definitely win. Inside the tree line. Missile goes in, kills the target. There we go. Haymaker pushes in another command vehicle, this time towards Gulf. Pretty blatant, I might say, because he just went right along the road. Probably so much so that the enemy was able to spot them. And with this zone under control, he's going to be gaining points again. There's another HGM team over here on the left, so basically the entirety of Gulf is locked down in the current capacity. Let's bring in some more units. Looks like we got more Fusiliers on the way, as well as a Merkava 2A with some more infantry. And once again, we have the Mar 240s attempting to smoke out the CV here. But unless that CV happens to be parked inside the napalm, it's not going to be very heavily affected, not with all that armor. Let's see if this thing takes a direct hit, because even if it does, I don't think it's going to be particularly noticing the napalm around it. And actually, you could just park it pretty much on the road, because all of that smoke is generating so much concealment for the unit that you can keep it there without being actually in trouble. And there we go. He's been able to capture Gulf. He's on the move again, trying to find a slightly better concealment position. There we go. +2. Taking control of Bravo again. And it seems that the next engagement is going to be against 40 Rova 890, as well as their transports. The Fusiliers are still in the town, this time with reinforcements. There used to be, I think, 4 guys left. They're trying to make a dash towards the other town, as the Achsarits are considering... No, they're actually going for the transport. Look at all the firepower coming out of these vehicles. For some reason we don't have any sound with that. Looks like they were able to kill the 432. There's a Kuranas coming in on... what's that, the transports? No, they were able to hit all of the Rovates. Beautiful strike. That was fantastic. Killed off all of the infantry there. And that is why I usually don't recommend going for quad stacks. They are too easy to kill off in 1 or 2 airstrikes. We do have one sneaky infiltrator, which I only just noticed. A Nimrod is trying to drop off some infantry here. Correction, a Yasur. They have some Shayatet 13, which have been dropped off. Only medium optics on these guys, so nothing too stellar. But if they can manage to get their way, or make their way towards Delta, then they will be able to find the CV. The Yasur is taking off again. And of course we know that there is a track repair and a Roland coming in, meaning that the Nimrod will be spotted early. There we go, missile goes in, immediately kills the AA unit. Range 2975 versus range 2800, easy pickings, there's another kill. At this point I'm really expecting the Hornet to come back out. Unless he is so busy micromanaging his front line that he doesn't notice the incursion here. Which I wouldn't be too surprised with, because you know how it gets in these games. Sometimes you just don't notice incursions like this. The Tractor Pier was able to kill off the Nimrod, but the Shayatet 13 are still coming in. And with that, they are very, very fast closing on the CV. This is not going to go down well unless he brings in some sort of fire support unit, and it could be as simple as a 163 CS. 1 or 2 of those units around the CV, and the Shayatet are going to go down very, very quickly. But for now, I think that they will be able to kill the CV. There we go, the CV is spotted. And there's the CV down. So Haymaker is now in trouble, no longer able to bring in reinforcements. And he has to go and bring either the CV from Hotel or Charlie back home in order to get that reinforcement route back open. He's still gaining points. He's not reacting yet. Has he noticed? Yep, the Rovait are currently moving back. It's going to be quite the walk for these guys. Repair moving back away. And if I was in this situation, I would try to bring the CV from Hotel back. It might take a little longer to get there, but the CV from Charlie is in a 2-point zone, and if I take that one out, then the enemy is suddenly going to start gaining points, which I don't want to have happen. He's not responding to it at all. That's interesting. Is he just ignoring it? Or is he still oblivious to it? Oh, there we go. We have an Achzarit coming back. The one that is parked in Bravo is no longer gaining points. The Achzarit, unlike their transport brothers, is not armed with anything. Does not come with a machine gun. Just a command vehicle with a lot of armor on it. So he has to drive in, hoping not to get hit by any kind of ATGM weapon mounted on the infantry here. Or carried by the infantry. And by doing so, retaking control of the zone, spawning in some new units, and killing off these commandos. In the meanwhile, Blue is still trying to defend their CV here, which I'm not sure has been detected. It hasn't moved at all. And with the town still under Fusilier's control, as well as the forest down here being more or less pushed by the Panzer Grenadiers, they have a fairly solid position here. Blue is bringing in quite a few of those 100-point tanks. I'm not sure if that's the best investment if you're going into a tree line. I wouldn't really recommend it, despite the high rate of fire. Because these things can still quite easily get taken out by the Panzer Grenadiers. Quite a high amount of armor penetration. Quite a high rate of fire. I'm not sure if that's the best use of their grenade launcher. Yeah, they got taken out. Spawn zone recaptured. Flak Panzer coming in. Hachi Nanashiki. The Flak Panzer gets taken out, but that gave them away. They're suppressed, they're stunned, and they miss their next round, leaving them on 7 rounds. 3 guys left, 2 guys left, 1 guy down. The incursion was really good, and it did cause Haymaker to force more of his attention on Delta, giving Blue a bit more time to get more units in on the front line. And they are indeed pushing on the front line with, in fact, a couple of Merkava 1s. Now the Merkava 1, I haven't really tested it yet. 65 point tank, 2100 meter range engagement, so it's not terribly long ranged. It does look really, really nice, I gotta say that. 9 rounds a minute rate of fire, 16 frontal armor, and 13 armor penetration on the gun. Leaving the gun a little bit on the weak end for a Merkava, or for a tank. I mean, there's plenty of 13 armor penetration point vehicles, but you shouldn't put these things up against another tank, because they won't be doing that well. A couple of ATG Milan F2s trying to get hits on the Merkavas, but unfortunately Merkavas once again concealed. No shots for these guys yet. And it looks like currently this area is under attack and has to be defended. La Vie comes in with a bombering run. Basically kills off anything that it can find because, well, that's what the La Vie does. High rate of bombs coming in from that vehicle. Nagash are pushing forward, killing off the AA unit, and currently threatening anything that Haymaker has here on the front line. Rangers desperately pushing forward, trying to get their AT weapon in range. Their AT weapon just doesn't have the firepower. 18 points of armor penetration against a 17 point frontal armor means that it's really not going to do that much damage. You can see that these tanks are getting slightly worried, but most of the armament from the Rangers is just harmlessly bouncing off of their armor. Unless you get shot in the flank by a Panzer Grenadier, leaving just one of those Magachs. And EOD team has been able to neutralize the zone here, or actually capture it himself, since Haymaker was forced to retreat the CV from Bravo. Let's see if these Panzer Grenadiers can finish off that last tank as well. The tank is still oriented towards the last threat, which is the Rangers, so they might not see it yet. There we go, he's re-angling. Now is the time to start pushing with the Rangers. Come on, boys. A couple of burned out vehicles here. It has taken quite significant damage, but so have the Panzer Grenadiers. Almost nothing left of these guys. Come on. There we go, tank destroyed. Panzer Grenadiers, both squads are still alive, but really just by the skin of their teeth. Nothing left of these guys. They're going to need a lot of resupply. Another Magach pushing on the Fusilier 90. Fusilier 90, unfortunately for the tank, has a lot of armor penetration capacity. 22 points, 20 rounds a minute at 70%, means that it is very, very good at killing off tanks. Another bombing run comes in, this time spotted just in time by Haymaker, pulling away the Fusiliers and keeping them safe, although barely. He knows where the CV is, and although he doesn't have any teammates, he uses the attack marker to note the position of that unit, so that he can engage it when he has the available resources to do so. His CV got hit by a bombing run. That's the blue dot you may have seen moving around here. Took a lot of damage, but thanks to all of the armor on this thing, it actually survived that bombing run. The Achzarit, I'm not sure if it's going to be granted the same respite, the same survival chances. I don't believe it will be. It depends a little bit on what kind of unit he's going to push forward, but without any kind of armament, this thing is toast. Even if the Rangers or the Panzer Grenadiers are push onto it. But I think that the Panzer Grenadiers are currently waiting for a resupply vehicle. We have some more units coming in, more M113s, presumably more Panzer Grenadiers. There's an Oshkosh, also known as a Hemet. And it is working on resupplying and especially repairing this Achzarit, who's taken heavy damage from that bombing run. Note that he is not using a fob. All of his supplies are mobile. They're all brought in by Oshkosh, and I think that that's actually the first resupply vehicle I have seen. I don't believe he's used anything other than that one. There's the Merkava engaging the Pikut. Looks like he's going to be able to get the kill as well. Grenade launchers firing. Main gun, there we go. Kill confirmed. +2 for Haymaker. With just 2 minutes left on the replay clock, I'd say that EOD team is basically going to surrender. Lahatut pushing forward. He probably tries to get a shot in on the Merkava. Doesn't really get it. But here comes the bombing run. That's going to cost him pretty much all of the Rangers. Oof. Look at that guy. Talking about a sole survivor. Can you imagine that? Being that one Ranger, and then suddenly you're with a group of friends, and the next moment you're just alone, carrying 4 Carl Gustav charges, an M240 and a Car 15, as well as taking fire from a quad stack of Gavnunis and Nachmachons, meaning that you don't really have a lot of chance for survival. And there we go. Nachmachons took a large amount of damage. I think that might have been a bombing run. And especially all of those Gavnunis are dead, which really helps. Interesting to see the HVMS over here. I believe that this is basically an M113 with a turret and a gun. It's a 60mm gun. Rate of fire is quite nice at 29 rounds a minute. It does have good optics, medium stealth, and thereby it's quite good at killing off transport vehicles soon. But note that it does not have any kind of HE damage. It will not engage infantry. Now with a +3 for Haymaker, it is just game over for EOD team. There's not that much that he can do to come back from this one. And there we go. EOD team, total defeat. Although Haymaker didn't kill off that many more units than he lost. Sure, he got 700 points, but mostly what he got is terrain. And that is so incredibly valuable in a map like this. You want to be consistently pushing forward and gaining terrain. And Haymaker consistently had EOD team on the back foot. Now some things that I would recommend EOD team do different is that he's not using quad stacks. The quad stacks of infantry kept getting immediately eradicated by the bombing runs, and thereby he was wasting a lot of resources and constantly trying to replete all of those losses. So with that, the quad stacks have got to go. The MAR 240s, the napalm artillery, is not bad, but I think that he should have used it a bit different. Because while he was able to stun and panic as well as damage some of those units, he didn't really get a strategic advantage from it. The only thing that I can see them useful for is to use them just before an attack, which is not the way that he was using them. And I would personally either pick a different unit of artillery or try to push in directly after that napalm strike has completed, with, for example, a couple of those Achzarits deploying infantry either inside or just beyond the napalm area, so you can keep pushing forward. Anyway, 1v1, blue mechanized deck versus an Israel deck. If you're looking to get a look at this mechanized deck, the deck code is in the description down below. Make sure there's no dashes in it because that is still not part of the deck code, but the @ sign is definitely part of it, so make sure you do copy that one. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good Tuesday, and I'll see you soon for more videos.